The Shadowlands is coming, and that means, for many of you, that fresh start you keep promising yourself. For years, I have been encouraging people to get into guilds. It's an entirely different way of playing World of Warcraft. And often, I talk about this stuff on stream. I might answer the question about what to do in preparation for Shadowlands 60 times a day. But you'll have to forgive me because that often means that I don't flag it as an appropriate YouTube video. Thankfully, a tweet this morning really reopened my eyes to this, as a guild contacted me to say we've had a ton of recruits recently and a lot of them are coming from your community. A lot of people reaching out and getting into guilds now, and that's what's so important. Everybody is recruiting right now. I don't care what their WoW progress says, because most people, the reality is they can't be arsed updating their WoW progress thing. The good guilds generally don't go to trade chat, and if you're looking, and I'm not talking to the guys who don't want a guild for whatever reason, but perhaps I can change your mind in this video, I'm talking about the guys who always promise themselves that fresh start. Always promise them that next expansion is my time. I'm going to move on. This guild isn't for me anymore. I'm going to move on and I'm going to start the new expansion. I'm going to get my character super prepped and then I'm going to join a guild and kick ass. No, so wrong. So wrong. There are so many misconceptions about guilds that I've made a top 5 video about it. All these rumors that you hear on forums are generally not true in respect of what an actual guild is. They are true from their perspective of joining the floundering guilds, joining the guilds that don't really have a set goal or a way of accomplishing their goal. Every drama story we have pretty much has something similar in it. People join guilds based on lies. Anybody can type anything into WoW Progress or into a trade chat macro. Doesn't need to be true because the fact of the matter is most people don't check. They're just like, oh, I need a guild. There's a guild. Join, please. And then they find out, literally this week we had this story, that the stuff is not true. The guild promises that eventually we're going to start raiding. We're made up of ex-mythic raiders and people who got cutting edge. We're going to fly through the content. And then they get there and they're like, well, actually, after speaking to a few of these guys, none of them ever did heroic. Where's the ex-mythic raiders? This guy did a mythic pug once? Is that what you're saying? It's a problem that people encounter all the time, is a lot of people want to be in charge. If they've been hurt by one of these floundering guilds before, it makes sense they want to take over. They're going to do things differently, and we hear about that all the time as well. They ran into complications with the management, or whoever the officers were, so they all left and started their own thing. Now, sometimes that works. Sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't. It dies again and the circle repeats, and you generally end up with these same players going round and round the cycle over and over again, and then giving up and saying, I'll wait till next patch, I'll wait till next tier, I'll wait till next expansion. That's when I'm going to do it. Let me break it down for you guys. I had did a video back in Legion of how to join a raiding guild, and we had a 100% success rate with it. But use that, the link's still there, it still works, it's a great way of getting into a guild. But what I wanted to talk about today is why. Why do you want this? Think about what you want from World of Warcraft. This is the first thing. What do you want? I want to raid. I want to do Mythic Plus. I want to do arenas. I want to do rated BGs. Whatever it might be, then the position is set. That's my goal. And that is organized content. Now, there are a great number of reasons people can't get into organized content. I understand that. I'm not crazy. Some people have crazy work schedules. Some people can only play sometimes once a week. I get that, and it's unfortunate, but that's not the case for most people who make a lot of excuses as to why they can't raid. Now, some of these are very legitimate, like social anxiety. I can't perform when there's people feel like people are judging me and doing all that kind of stuff. But I always tell those guys, remember what the worst thing that can happen is that they say no on your trial. That's the worst that can happen, is you'll fail your trial, and you can try against someone else. It's not that bad. It's no different than those guys who are afraid to tank a Mythic Plus. The worst that can happen is that you leave. Someone might say some bad words and you'll never encounter them ever again. It's fine. It's totally fine to do that. Why should you want to join a guild, especially now in the Shadowlands? Look at the forums. Look at the outrage. Look at Twitter. Look at Reddit. What's the biggest complaints we see about a lot of the stuff coming into the Shadowlands? I'm not going to be allowed to do this. I won't be able to join Mythic Plus now if I don't have the right covenant, the right meta spec. They've doubled it up and all these things. This is all these walls that are in front of me. I'm not going to be able to do X and Y. Do you think that that matters when you're in an organized guild? No. The goal here is simple. To change you from being in a class So if you've been in a dungeon and think about how you play WoW right now, do you get called Mage, Rogue, Warlock? It's changing all that to Preach. To your name. You're now a name. You think about how I'm operating in my guild. Do you think I'm not going to be able to join and do my weekly key at any point during the next expansion because of my covenant? Absolutely not. I'm going to be able to do it on alts, fresh alts, whatever. Why? Because people want to play together in an organized environment. And this is the thing. It's about playing with like-minded individuals. I know many of you are in a guild. But ask yourself, is this a guild with a clear structure? Now, I don't mean a guild that wants to raid, wants to PvP, wants to do arena, wants to do rated BGs, wants to go in RP, has like 19 different goals. Because that's not going to work. You're not going to find like-minded individuals like that, because what you're going to have is a whole mishmash of people joining for a whole bunch of reasons, and therefore finding a steady group that wants to do one thing gets much more difficult. A raid guild, a real raid guild that's organized and focused on that, serves a singular purpose. They want to raid at that level, and they look for like-minded individuals. And the clearest way of telling this is something like the weekly mythic key. Some people see this like a job, a requirement, a thing. I see it as playing with my friends. And all those guys want to do their key as well. They just want the reward at the end. It's as simple as that. And they all want to jump in together and get things done. It's not a task. It's not a job. It's not a requirement. It's not a hassle. It's a thing that everybody wants to get done because they want to get geared up and they want you to get geared up as well because that makes the main goal of raiding better. It's as simple as that. And once you find these people, then you can look for the small things. Is everybody in a raid guild going to be into very high Mythic Plus keys? No. Some of them will be. All the guild is designed to do, and the officer's goal is to provide that one thing. And they work hard at doing that in an organized guild. Think about your guild now. Is your guild just a second trade chat? You might have that green text in game and a guild tag above your head, but what does it actually do? What does it actually do? That's the important thing. If you want more. Because all these things disappear. This is the important thing. Think about this. I don't have Raider.io installed. I've never needed it. I don't have a lot of the issues that we fight back against Blizzard. And this is why we often scoff and we kind of laugh at when people are filling feeds saying, oh, it's the 1%ers who are screwed and all this. Not really. The reason people like me make a big fuss about a lot of these changes is it's widespread going to cause problems for everybody else and create a bad atmosphere all round. It causes endless problems elsewhere. Look at the Covenant dungeon buffs coming in the new expansion. Are the very, very top MDI players affected? Of course. Are the very, very top Mythic Plus solo teams, the organized teams that maybe aren't MDI, but they have a set group of people going to be affected by that? Yes. Are your day-to-day players who just do Mythic Plus for whatever the requirement is for the best piece of gear, are they affected by it at all? No. Not at all. It's not a thing. Which is why we are often like, stop putting words in our mouths from these players who are telling us how it is, because it's not like that at all. And I don't want that to be the way it is for you either. I don't want you guys to be sat there wondering what Covenant you should pick so you can get into pugs. What I want you to do is find an M+ guild, an M+ community, where you can fit in and become the name. Not the demon hunter, the name, the player. That's what I want for you. Because once that happens, you can play anything you want. And you'll find a place where you can do things. Now remember, a lot of people call me out, and again, the excuses. You played a utopian way, Mike. No, I started at the absolute very, very bottom of this game. Very, very bottom of this game. What I'm trying to do for you guys is fast forward you through all the mistakes I made, the problems I went through, the pug issues I went to. Believe me, I've been kicked out of pugs in Wrath of the Lich King. Because even though I had one of the best kills of Sartharian 3 Drakes, in the pug world, I wasn't good enough when they invited me. They expected me to like, oh, you can't do this. I was like, dude, I did this months and months and months ago when it was actually legitimate and you guys weren't blowing it up. But it doesn't matter to those guys. It's a very different way of playing World of Warcraft that's really toxic, that's really bitter, and incredibly selfish. And I don't want that for you. Find now. Guilds are recruiting now. My guild started recruiting 2 months ago. There's no advert for it. People have already let their guilds know if they're leaving. My guild personally is losing a main tank, a main healer, and like 4 DPSs. And we've already recruited like 10 people. And all the guilds are doing this now. So stop making excuses if you can. Don't wait for that WoW progress post to update, because they just send it in. The worst they could say is no. Don't wait for that one prize guild that you're definitely to be in and refreshing the page, because I've been there as well. They're going to be looking for somebody at some point. They're going to be looking, you're just refreshing the page, hoping that they're going to pick your class and say they need it. Just apply, and apply to a lot of places. Follow the advice I give you. If you are anxious about it, just remember, the worst that can happen is you fail your trial. That's it. Pick somewhere that's appropriate for your progress level. I'm not saying go all apply to Limit or to Echo. Find somewhere that fits you and just give it a try. Because all I'm trying to tell you is once you find your place and spend some time researching this, it's all in the other video, it will change how you play WoW. Don't wait till the new expansion, you'll already be behind. Now is the time. People are going to leave in the next expansion. The guilds know this, so they recruit anybody they can now in preparation for maybe half their roster not enjoying the new expansion. Go for it. Get it done. The worst that can happen is they say no. That's it. Give it a try. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.